Yo, what is good, everybody? The Unreal Editor for Fortnite just dropped, which means Creative 2.0 is out, is what they're calling it. So this is a really quick beginner's guide to it because this is a very advanced software. So if you don't have any programming experience or anything, this is where to start. But however, if you want to get really in depth, then I would really recommend you start to delve deeper into computer science and programming and stuff. What you're going to need first is the actual Unreal Editor for Fortnite. So what you're going to see is it's going to be the first thing in the Unreal, or it's going to be the first thing in the Epic Games Store. So then what you can do is you can click it, come in, and download it. Then what it'll do is it'll download and update Fortnite along with it, and now you have access. So now if we were to open it, we open the Unreal Editor, this is what we're going to be greeted to. You're going to have a bunch of these, and you're going to have some of the documentation. If you're not a programmer and you don't know what documentation is, you're in for a wild ride. Basically, the documentation goes over everything with a pretty broad rake. So it has getting started and teaches you how to get started. Learning programming with Verse. Epic actually made their own programming language for this. Collaborating and publishing, building your first game, etc. So you can see all of it here. This is a very, very useful tool that you're going to need to learn if you want to do this, if you want to get advanced with it. You can basically use this as creative, with a faster workflow, essentially. So if we were to come in, we hit done. No leaks there. So what we're actually going to do is use a featured example. So I'm going to get the Verse Devices starter just to kind of name it. So what you do is click on whatever one you want. You can also have a bunch of island templates here, and this is kind of where you start creating an island if you want from like a blank. We're just going to go Verse Starter Device, and we're just going to name it Tutorial. So we hit Create. So this is Unreal Editor, just kind of a little tweaked for Fortnite, essentially. I haven't done a whole lot of Unreal Editor stuff. Unreal Editor uses C++, the programming language. This uses Verse so that you don't have as much control, I think, over the actual game. And then I think they're transitioning everybody else to Unreal or to Verse. So now to start you off pretty simply, you hold left click and you can look around left and right. You can't look up or down with it. But if you were to go up or down, it moves. Like if you move your mouse up or down, it scrolls you forward and back. You can change the speed right here, camera speed, so we can set it up to 8. And then we move really quick. I like depending on where you're working, like a 5 is pretty decent. If you hold middle click, you're able to move up and down and left and right a little bit. And then if you hold right click, you can look around. If you hold left click, middle click, or right click, you can also use WASD to move around. But only while you're holding it. You can actually change that, but that's that. If your PC is struggling to render UEFN, what I recommend doing is clicking scalability, setting it to low, medium, high, kind of whatever you want. This will use a lot less resources on your computer and allow you to run this a lot better. So now let's get into the simple stuff. Let's make something. If you come down to the bottom left, you can hit content drawer. The content drawer contains all of the creative assets and more. So if we click on Fortnite, as you can see, we have all the consumables, devices, environment, etc. So if we wanted to just build something simple, what you can do is go galleries, building. You have all of these folders to choose from. Say we wanted to build something at a coral castle, we can click on the coral castle, and then what you do is you literally just click it, drag it out, and it'll place. See, so then we can look around this and affect it from there. So then what we can do is come down, we can add some I don't know, I'm not a creative guy. We can go add some pillars here. You can use copy and paste, that's a really powerful tool. Come back into content drawer. Then let's put these things on. Okay. So we just moved around. I'm sure there's honestly faster ways to speed up the workflow. I haven't figured them all out yet, so just bear with me. I gotta stop doing that. Okay. So then what we can also do is we can get ramps in here. Now say we wanted this ramp to flip the other way. What you can do is, so if you're holding still, you can press E. E will rotate. You can press R, and R will scale. And then W will move. So say we wanted our ramp back here, we do that. See, so now you have pretty simple building mechanics here, but it's so much faster than actual creative because you're not having to run around, you're not having to go through your phone. If we wanted to find something from Fortia, we can just type Fortia in the search bar here. Oh wait, sorry. So you come to building, right? We can type Fortia, and now we have all the Fortia building pieces here. We could type tilted, and now we have all the tilted towers building pieces here. So it's a lot faster. And then on top of that, you get a lot more functionality when it comes to say devices or something. So if we were to come into Fortnite, devices. So now we have all of these different little devices. And then let's say we wanted to, I'm not really well versed in the devices because I haven't done it a lot, because building an actual creative gives me a headache, like zooming around, but this is fine. So like if we want to drag a baller out here, you just kind of drag it out, and then now you got, you know, a baller. So that's kind of the basics, and this is where most people are going to care about because this is just simple creative. But we're able to get more advanced, so let's do that. I'm still personally learning a lot of this myself as well, so obviously I don't know Verse yet, no one does. It's a new programming language. But what we're able to do is make our own devices in Verse. So what we can do is come into our content drawer. If you hit your file's name here, you'll have a creative devices tab because we made this in the creative devices thing. Right now we have a pre-made Hello World device, but that's kind of confusing, so let's make it ourselves. What you're going to want to do is click on Verse. Then we go Verse Explorer, and it brings you up with this tab. You're going to click on your project here, right click, add new Verse file to project. So we're creating a new Hello World device. Let's just name it Hello World because we already have Hello World device made. So now we have Hello World. So then what we want to do is hit create, and it'll build this up. So you're going to need VS Code to do this, but it'll automatically install it if you try to open it beforehand. So now that we have Hello World, we can double click it here and it'll open it. Now this is our code. I know, big scary, you're okay. We're not going over anything crazy. So these using tabs are using different things that Fortnite has. So this one's using all the devices so that we're able to access and manipulate the devices in the game. This one's accessing the simulation for Verse. That's just like simulation physics, I believe. And then this one's diagnostics. Pretty simple. It's just diagnosing stuff for the game. Then we have this. So it says Hello World class creative device. This is a lot easier to explain if you just break it down. The Hello World here at the start is the file name. That's it. There's nothing else. This has to remain the file name, otherwise it won't run. This little face dude here is just how Verse kind of establishes their functions and their methods and stuff. So what this is basically just saying is the class that we're making is a creative device. So we're making a custom Verse creative device, which is, I believe, how all Verse projects work. Then on begin, this should be pretty simple. When the file begins. So this is as soon as the device is started in a running game. It says it right here. The override you can just ignore. Suspends you can ignore. And the void you can ignore. Basically all we're worried about is what's inside this little bit. So you just have to worry about the tabs. So Verse is a lot like Python where it's tab based instead of bracket based. So if we wanted to type something new and we said instead tried to type print hello here, like this, it would actually get mad at us because there's no tab here. But if we were to press tab, which is the fun little button next to Q on your keyboard, you press that and suddenly we're good. So now we can type whatever we want, literally whatever we want. And so now what the print will do is it'll print it to our console in game. So if we were to go ahead and save this, let's see if it works. Okay, Control S to save this, come back into Unreal Editor, and what you need to do is build your Verse code. So if you come to Verse at the top, you hit build Verse code, it'll build it for you, then you just hit launch session. It'll ask you to save selected if there's new stuff, and you just go ahead and do that. Now that we clicked launch session, I've actually made one big mistake. This will not work for a pretty simple reason, but I can show two things off here at once, which is kind of a benefit. Basically, when you launch session, it'll open up Fortnite for you. It'll say loading into your edit session, and then you'll hop into your creative world that you made. If you just give it a second, it takes a while. So one of the big issues that I found was that I kept having to close out Fortnite, come back in to retest things, but I figured out I was being an idiot doing that. Epic actually made a really interesting thing, I'm guessing that they were doing for the developers. Basically, you can leave the game open and push changes straight to the game while it's still open, and that's how you can actually test things a lot faster, and it'll improve your workflow massively. If you guys didn't know, I'm actually majoring in computer science right now. I'm actually in my first year of college, so this is pretty exciting to me when I can put two things I love, programming and Fortnite, together into one and make something pretty interesting out of it. The only issue is I have to learn a new language, which is never really fun, let's be honest here. This is taking a while. This is ridiculous. Come on, there we go. So now you'll see at the top left, it says edit mode up to date. That tells us that our system is up to date, in fact. Now if I were to open my keys to X, because I'm still a professional player, not really professional, but I'm still a player. If we come around, we have our little baller device in here. We can get in it, drive around and stuff. We're pretty chill. So we can come over to this guy. See these are all here. You're able to break them. I'm able to crank and everything. And all of this is here. Now the only thing is, if we come into our inventory and hit log, this is where it should be saying what we typed in the print statement. However, it's not, for one simple reason. If we come back into Unreal Editor, you'll notice that we don't have our device here. So you need to actually drag out the devices that you make into your game. And you'll notice, see all of our builds automatically updated here. I think that's actually really cool. Okay, so they're all now deleted. Then what I can do is come into content drawer, drag my hello world device right into here, and now it's just kind of chilling. Then what you do is you hit push changes, save selected, and now it'll push the changes into our world. Okay, my game took a second. Now we should be updated. So now if we were to go ahead and start game, it'll boot up properly. And if we come into here now, see how everything is green, nothing is like loading in here. So if we come into our log right here, we can see it says whatever we want. Because if we come back into our code, if you remember, we had it print whatever we want. And now that is translating in game. That means our device is speaking to the game itself, and we're able to code whatever we want from that. There's a lot of functionality to be had here, and I'm still really trying to learn it, and it's really kind of kicking me right now. But I see a lot of potential in this, and I think it could be really, really interesting in the future. So like this is all the pretty simple stuff. So I gave like a really quick example on programming, and then a really quick example on how to actually build stuff. If you play creative, you should have a pretty good idea where to take it from there. You really just come into your content drawer and you use all that. But if you want to start getting more advanced, that's when you start needing to read the verse documentation and learning how the verse programming language works. I'll give one more example on verse, and that's going to be how to activate something with a button. So this is how to integrate a device and your verse code together so that they can implement the game together. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is we're going to take our little verse device here. He's kind of chilling, right? And we're going to need to get a button. So if we want to come into our content drawer, devices, we can type, I can't type, we can type button, and we can place him here. Drag him up, rotate him a little bit. Now we have our button just chilling here. There's really nothing special about this button. However, we are able to come into our verse code and access it from there. So first we have to make our button visible to our code. And that's a pretty simple way to do. What we need to do is come into our method, or come into our script here, and just under where our name is in the classes right here, we need to do, what you're going to want to do is type in my button, or whatever name you want your button to be. Do a colon, then type button underscore device. Then what we can do from there is go equals button underscore device, and then do 2 brackets. What this does is it allows us to select which button we want linked to this script. So if we were to go ahead and save that, come into Unreal Editor, and what we can do is Control-Shift-B, and that'll build our scripts out. Then what we do is if we click on our dude here, we can come in and we can see under Hello World, there's a My Button. What we can do is come in and select our button. Now that button is linked to the verse script. And to go from there, what we can do is actually make it so the button is an on begin script essentially, right? What we do is make a new script called handle button interaction. Sorry, I keep having to jump between documentation because I don't remember the names. This part I'm not going to explain too much because it's pretty useless if you're a beginner. But what we're going to do is go in parentheses, go agent, colon, lowercase agent. Basically this is naming, so with verse, what we've noticed is if you have a colon, the first thing in the colon is the name, the second thing is the type, the third thing, if it's an equal sign, would be what it's assigned to. So for this, my button is the name, the type is a button device, and it's assigned to button device with a bracket, which basically means you can go in and select it. So this is the same thing here. If we go agent is the name, and then agent is the type. This is a function, however, so we can call it from there. I might explain functions more in depth later if this series gets a lot of love, so let me know if you want to see that. Then what you need to do is go colon, space, void, equal sign. Whoops, be careful for the autocomplete. What this does is we've now created a function that detects whenever our button is activated. Then all we need to do is put whatever we want inside this function to happen. So what we can do is go print button has been pressed. Now, whenever the button is flicked up, it'll print to the log that the button has been pressed. Let's see if this works. Sorry, I missed a pretty basic thing. So on begin, we need it to listen to our button. So what we need to do is type my button for our button, dot interacted with event. So now this will tell us if the button's been interacted with. Then we go dot subscribe, and then we go handle button interaction. So now what this is going to do is it's going to detect if our button, which is the name of the button, has interacted with something. Then what it's going to do is it's going to subscribe, which you should do right now. Basically, subscribe actually means it's going to listen to. So it's going to listen to the button, and when it's been interacted with, then it's going to run our function here, handle button interaction. Then it's going to basically come in and print what we want. Sorry about that, I forgot that part. So now we have our button here. If we come in, it says whatever we want, but nothing else was here. Now, if we interact with the button, it says it multiple times. Button has been pressed. Oh, it just pushed the changes again. Okay. Anyways, that's going to be about it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it made a little bit more sense on what's going on. So that's what verse means. So when people are talking about verse, that's the programming language they're talking about. Congrats, you're now kind of a programmer. We'll consider it. And for all you creative guys that just want to build cool stuff, go ham. It's really all in the content drawer. You got this. If you want to start getting more in depth, then I would recommend learning verse. However, just building is a really good start, and this is a lot faster than Creative 1.0. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if this actually helped, and I'll see you later.